Hey everyone, it's Jay
and Olivia
with Micha Liv Consulting. Now, the other day, a woman came up to me and she said, "Are you happily married?" My answer was yes. Then she said, "Oh, so that means you guys don't argue?" My answer was no. She then asked me, "Well, how can you be happily married if you argue?" So today's topic is about arguing in a happy marriage. Alright guys, so as far as arguing in a happy marriage, is that such a thing? And the answer is absolutely yes. I think people believe that when you get in a relationship or a marriage, that you never have a single argument, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, now there is a difference between arguing and fighting. Fighting is when you cross that line and you're saying condemning words, you're chastising them as a human being, you're getting physical, you call them out their name.
And that should never happen.
Never. Those things are never acceptable in a relationship. Now, at that point in time, we need to reassess some things. But as far as an argument, that's completely understandable. Now, you're probably wondering, what is deemed as an argument? Now, arguments tend to be where there's two people in a relationship, and each person has their own point of view. Now, your point of view may never agree with their point of view, and you guys may go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And you guys may either come to a compromise or an agreement, or you may never agree, and you have to just agree to disagree.
Right.
But those things can actually be healthy for the long run of your relationship.
Right. I think that a lot of times that when you start a fresh relationship, you would expect that there should be no issues or anything like that, like you said. But arguments happen, and it's understandable. You can do that. The main thing is to try to reduce the amount of arguments that you have and understand where these arguments are stemming from. The main thing that we always discuss is to make sure that the argument has purpose. You want to make sure that underlying, maybe I want him to understand how I feel, or I need to understand how he feels, but are we trying to do it so that we come to a commonality, so that we have a deeper love for one another?
Absolutely. And I think that that's what you need to strive for. You have to always remember why you got into the relationship.
Exactly.
And even on those days when your relationship gets tough, you have to remember how it felt when she said she had a crush on you, or you saw her walk by, or whatever the case may be. You have to go back to those moments and understand, okay, this is what I'm actually here for. So if this argument is a pointless argument, why the heck are we doing it? Now, going back to the basics and reinventing the way that we look at relationships, rather, instead of thinking that it's always going to be perfect and there's never going to be an argument, or getting so tied up in an argument that we forget that we're madly in love with one another, that's what we need to do. We need to go back to the basics.
One thing that I suggest actually is that you look at each other in the eye when you're arguing. I think a lot of times we'll look off in the distance and we'll argue, and he'll be sitting right here, but we'll say, "I can't stand when you do this. And you just don't understand me ever." But I think if it's something so small as to argue looking eye to eye, I feel like you just really don't get me sometimes, and it's because of when you did this, or because you didn't listen to me when we were out in public, things like that. When you look at each other in the eye, when you use those small changes, it really does help, because you see that it's somebody that you actually care about. You see their emotions, you see the feelings that you give off when you're actually in the middle of an argument. You can't fake it, you can't hide it. If you see your partner tearing up, then you start to feel a little, you step back from being so aggressive.
Absolutely. And it is easier said than done.
Right.
First of all, having eye contact with anybody for some people is very difficult. And especially when you're in an emotional situation. But the thing is, you never should allow your emotions to run you.
Exactly.
The moment your emotions run you are the moment that you've lost complete control and you've lost the opportunity to be successful. So, if you argue in your relationship, it's okay. Of course, what type of arguments are you having? How frequent are you having the arguments? And are these arguments turning into fights? These things are important, but arguing in a relationship does not mean that you cannot be a happy couple. To be honest, one of my favorite quotes that I love, the quote goes, people don't have 100 different arguments. They have the same argument 100 different times. And that's typically what happens in these relationships. And the thing is, we just really, really, really have to go back to basics and remember why we got in a relationship. Remember why we love one another. And if you find it that it's still valuable enough for you to fight for it, then you work towards it, okay? All right, guys, I'm Jay.
And I'm Olivia.
It's Micha Liv Consulting. Now, if you want more help, especially with the topic of arguments and different things like that, I understand it's easier said than done, as we said earlier, but that's where I come in as a certified professional relationship coach. You can actually have somebody to work with you on a one-on-one basis. After years of training, this is something that I've really, really worked in order to gain the ability to help you through your trying times and to help bring back that love, that feeling that you felt when you first laid eyes on one another, okay? So if you want more help and information and details on that, go to michaliv.com and we'll provide all the assistance that you truly, truly need, okay? All right, as always, I'm Jay.
And I'm Olivia.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.